All right, welcome. It's Geographically Challenged episode number 63. We have taken a bit of a hiatus. I don't remember the last what the last one was. I think it was about a month ago though. At this point, I've been overseas. Blair's been overseas. Pilski, I don't know where you've been. Maybe you've just been in Sydney, but hey, that's okay.
He was overseas. He was overseas for a bit.
Yeah, but that was before the last one, I think. Or did you miss the last one? I feel like Pilski missed the last one. We had Mac on. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I can't really remember. Either way, you guys have been doing amazing, awesome things. I've been sending people emails in very corporate terms, and it's been thrilling. I'm sure that we live very what's the word, equivalent lifestyles right now.
Well, you never know. You never know. Pilski's going international, I hear, in Valorant soon. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Counter-Strike. And the Counter-Strike has been interesting. There's been a lot, actually, to talk when it comes to Asia over the last few weeks. Because, again, we missed a little bit. So there's a lot of catching up to do. We'll jump straight into it. We'll dump straight into it, potentially. Yeah, I mean, actually, Mongolz did kind of take a bit of a dump on a couple of teams in Cologne, but then they also got dumped on a little bit as well. So let's talk about that. We'll start things off with the big hot topic, which is Mongolz at Cologne. Did they do well or did they disappoint? I want to actually kind of like get your thoughts on that first, because at this point, I'm not really sure where to sit that performance, you know what I mean? Because I look at it and I'm like, I mean, there was definitely some positives. There was some very big positives, but there was also some games where it really didn't look that good. And I'm maybe walking away from it after having seen the win against Spirit and then the loss to Saw and the loss to Pain and going, I'm a little bit disappointed in the end. You know, I feel like there was an opportunity to like really do something special that was maybe just not quite hit. And I don't know if I'm being a little bit unfair in expecting that to be the case. You know, am I unfair in expecting Mongolz to be a team to like go directly into an arena match at this point at an S tier event like Cologne? I think maybe that is a bit of an overstretch in terms of expectations. But the fact that it was so close is really, it makes it a little bit sad that they didn't get there, you know?
I was disappointed. I won't lie. Right?
See, and this is it, because it's like they beat Spirit. And then you're still walking away disappointed, and that's kind of where I'm at as well.
Also, there is, on a hindsight, you look at it. You know, you look at the fact that this Spirit team did look dead, right?
Yeah,
completely dead. You saw the G2 game as well. There was absolutely no life. I'm not really sure what's going on with them. Maybe the pressure getting with them, but anyway, we'll talk about it later on. For Mongolz, we've set our expectations. We know what they can achieve, right? And what was most frustrating for me was the Saw game. Look at the teams they beat. They destroy Spirit. They take down Eternal Fire as well, who are actually playing pretty bloody solid, mind you, right? So some pretty good wins. The opening game they had against Saw, fair enough. They got kind of go on the first map. They woke up, they smashed the FlyQuest, took down Eternal Fire, beat Spirit. And then in Saw, as I was on that game, I was watching the way it played out, it was rough because there were these rounds where we talk about how good they play and how unlike Asian CS it was, but there were rounds you just threw away. The 1v3s come to mind against Pain, for example, which should have been a 2-0 if you ask me. And this is a time where I'm going to ask for a change for this Mongolz team. I'm asking for performance coach. Okay. Now we don't know much about you know how they're obviously, you know, the way they talk in game. And you look at, for example, Blitz. I don't think I've ever seen Blitz speak, actually, ever, even when the cams are on him, right? So I don't know how they're communicating like Professor X looking motherfucker. I don't fucking know, all right? But they're getting it done. They're playing solid CS and whatnot. But I feel at times come where you can see the pressure catches up to them and they start talking. They start communicating. And it's a mental thing. I'll just put it out there, right? So I feel like a performance coach, maybe, I don't know, like a mental coach or whatever. I think that's going to help them. But I think they've reached a point right now where they need that because it's evident that's kind of getting to them, right? We've seen them choke at Skyesports, the finals against, who was a 3D Max, for example, complete capitulation, right? We saw that against Pain as well. We saw it against Saw as well. They're just not able to get to the next step. Kind of Astralis-esque, if you ask me, like TSM-esque back in the day, where, you know, they were struggling, you know, getting to winning tournaments. But in case of Mongolz, it's about getting to the next stage. So I am disappointed, but that's because I'm an Asian dad.
Pilski, you want to have a crack, and then I'll give my follow-up?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Blair. Like, if you looked at the Spirit like win in isolation, you'd be like so happy with that. But yeah, Spirit looked really bad at this tournament. I It's hard to say because like Soar's gone on and made top 6. So I'd say like losing to Soar, especially because they kind of dispatched G2 as well, is like they seem to be on a hot streak in this tournament and playing really, really well. The loss to Pain is probably a little bit more concerning for me because Pain is right there. And like teams like Pain, teams like MIBR, like those teams coming out of Brazil, you know, we look at, for me at least, I look at Brazil as like, those are the tournaments that teams from Asia need to be like beating to show like they're a really strong region, because you have like, or teams out of NA, like these are the teams where like outside of Europe, we have these minor regions that maybe have a little bit harder of a time getting like solid practice. You need to show you're consistently better than those teams. And I think that Mongolz is now, they've gone from a state of like, starting a debate about whether Asia might be a strong region, and now they're starting to lack the consistency so much to the point that you have no idea anymore whether they might be better than Brazil, whether they might be better than America or anything like that. And I think it's just, you know, I'm not at the events, so I don't watch any more closely than, you know, I'll be honest, like I watch a half every now and then. I'll watch a map if it's keeping me interested and things like that, and keep an eye on the tabs on the progress and the results. So I can't really say like what the issue is, whether it is choking, whether it's something else, but it's a very clear lack of consistency. And it's also, I would say, a concerning lack of consistency sometimes with the individual players. And I don't mean necessarily that there are players that would shit the bed necessarily, because like if you look at the stats, like they seem to like, you know, even if they're losing a series, they have good stats. So they're like only going -8 or something like that, or a lot of people are positive rating. It's more of a case of like, I'll see like Mazzino or something have an insane series or something like that, or like some of these players have an insane series here and there, but like the consistency series to series is not there. And in my experience working with teams of a much lower level than Mongolz, obviously, that can be a problem in your team, because like if you have someone who's fragging really hard and he wins you a series and then he's not doing that all the time, then there's not consistency in your team structure and your win conditions. And that's where the results start to become really random, and you have to like have a game against a team that you expect to beat and you lose, and you're like, what the fuck, why did that happen? And unless you have a really keen understanding of like, this is where the frags are coming from, this is how we win rounds, and we didn't just win a series because old mate had a really, really good series. Like you need to be very, what's the word, like not cutthroat, but very realistic about like, we won in this way, and is that consistent? Or is it just because like Mazzino went +30 or some shit, you know?
And I just want to add on to that quickly as well. I feel like it's also a really cool thing that anyone can pop off on a team, right? I think it's a luxury a lot of tier 1 teams also don't have, right? Like Blitz, we know how good he can be. At one point, he was the best player on this team, kind of like the Dexter of this team. If you look at it, and the fact that you can have 9-10 Mazzino, obviously Senzu, Techno completely take over the server, I think is a luxury to have. But now, if you compare him to a team like, let's say, Vitality or G2, these are teams you're looking for them to beat, by the way, right? And you might have Spinks have a quiet game. You might have Flames kind of struggle a little bit here and there, right? Like Remezi for that matter. But you always have a Zaiwu. You look at the side of G2, there's always Monacy, and now Nico as well, right? So even though there might be variables in some of the players, there's always the one superstar that they have to rely on. And I thought it was Senzu for a bit. And I won't lie, man, I feel like at this event, I think a lot of Senzu's rawness and just how new he is actually compared to the rest of the players, I think was laid bare for a lot of people to see. I'm looking at Anubis, I'm looking at the B-bomb side, I'm looking at Dark, right, or Kant, whatever, or Deity, whatever you call it down there. And I could see, I think it was Saw just abusing that time and time again, where when they headed into deep in the group stage, the second stage, and we saw Techno starting to play there, right? It's a tricky spot. It's a spot where you have to be smart, you have to be very aware, you got good intuition. And I feel like this event is, for me, looking at Senzu, I'm like, all right, boy, you have a lot of learning to do, right? And I hope the team recognizes that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, he's still very, very young, 18 years old.
Of course,
man.
yeah.
Like, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves just yet. I think for me, what scares me every time I see Senzu getting that AWP in hand, like he's obviously secondary AWP for Mongolz. Anytime they pick the second AWP up, I'm like, this
fucking hate it.
Really feels like it could throw the game away. I've seen it enough times that I almost just rather see Senzu just rifling at this point. Like, anyway, that's probably getting a little bit too far down the rabbit hole. But what I wanted to say about Mongolz again is like, you know, on the surface of it, like 9th, 12th at an event like Cologne is not a disappointing result.
Yeah,
really,
that's
at all.
what
Like,
I was going to say as well. It's like, bro, if you told me an Asian team was going to go 9th to 12th at Cologne, I'd be like, fuck yeah, bro, really? Let's go.
Like 12 months ago, I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll take that. 6 months ago, I probably would have been like, yeah, I'll take that.
They made it to the fucking playoffs, really?
Yeah, I think it's just that we now have this level of expectation that Mongolz have hit like reasonably consistently the level where they are actually able to contest like tier 1.5, let's say, that we're almost like now, okay, this is the expectation. We want to see them hit the next level, which would be making top 8, making playoffs at an event like this. And they are, I feel like that at the moment is a bit of a barrier to entry. So it's like hitting those kinds of events and getting into like playoffs in Cologne and winning tier 2 events like Skyesports Masters, like MESA Nomadic Masters. Again, not consistently something that they're being able to do. So they're on that precipice. I kind of like the shout, Bleh, that, you know, maybe a performance coach or something like that could be a factor that could potentially help them. I don't know how they would do that. I don't know if that's like something that they've even looked into or feel like they need. But it feels like to me there is like this, I don't know if there's a choking element. I don't want to say choking element necessarily to the Mongolz, but I feel like they do when they get into those high pressure games in series that they don't necessarily know that they're going to win, or that they don't come in with like some level of hubris. That's where struggles kind of come up, because like in these kinds of games where it's tight against like Asian opponents, domestic opponents, they don't really seem to have that difficulty. They do seem to be able to come back from nowhere or close these games out. But seen enough times where, like, as you say, like those 3v1 clutches like Bugu Zero is able to get from Pain. These are like little things that are just
broke me so much.
Absolutely destroying what could be like really great runs. I mean, you remember like the Techno Overpass round as well? That was at the major. Like
heroic.
It's like one round in a lot of very important series is like what's kind of letting them down, and it's just like tiny things that are preventing them from going to the next level. It feels like,
but I do want to touch upon, like, you know, that's the thing. I can see the progress happening. I just wanted to be a little bit faster, because I look at a Techno round, the Techno 4K round, Heaven Overpass onto its Cadian, right? And I look at the game we had. I mean, sorry, the run they had in Cologne, and I can point out mistakes Mizzino made. I can point out mistakes 910 made. I can point out mistakes Senzu, many mistakes Senzu made. I don't think I ever saw Techno actually make a mistake. As a team, maybe as a team holistically, they might have made mistakes, but Techno right now, if you ask me, is probably the safest pair of hands in the team. And this is the guy who completely fucked it up a year ago. You know what I mean? They're really evolved. Mizzino is making game, like, you know, a round-winning, game-winning plays, as well as playing the shit positions, right? Playing the anchor and whatnot. And they're pulling it off. So you can see the progress happening. I just feel like
quickly.
Yeah, I wanted more, number one. And number two, I feel like holistically, sometimes I feel like Blitz, I won't lie, as much as I like some of the protocols he has in place, it does feel a little bullheaded at times. When things aren't working out, it's the, all right, guys, Asian Counter-Strike time. We got a better aimers. Right. I don't want that. I want them to win with the good aim, with some good protocols, like how I'm looking at what G2 is doing right now, right? And even Saw, dude, look at, they don't have the player, I'll say it right now, I don't think Saw have pound for pound the player quality of some of the kids on Mongol's team, but they have a better system in place. They got Barry coming in as a coach, right? So maybe, I don't know. And he can't speak the language, mind you. He can barely speak the language. He's calling in like a bit of, you know, English and whatnot. So maybe the coaching staff, I like Marab, get someone else as well, right? I think they need to invest in that right now. They have the players. They need more support. That's it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I don't even know if there necessarily needs to be a solution, or if it's just a case of more time equals good. You know what I mean? Still a very young team, just in terms of age, not in terms necessarily of how long they've been together. They've been together quite a while now, actually, since the most recent changes, bringing in Senzu and Mizzino. So I think that's fine. I think it's just, let's see how things go for this major cycle. And I wouldn't necessarily question or want for a roster change or a shake-up or anything like that until 2025 at the earliest. I think they give themselves that much rope. The one thing that's disappointing, obviously, about Cologne is like how close they got in a lot of cases. In a lot of those, like both the losses they had to Saw, both in the play-in and in the actual event itself, and then the loss to Pain, feel like winnable series, and it's, again, just sort of like tiny little things that are kind of letting them down. So I don't know. I feel like they're on the precipice. I feel like they're kind of like almost there. You know what I mean?
They are, but like I will say as well, I won't like make it a long point or anything, but it really feels like they're starting to cap out at, like, you know, not outside of top 8. Like Pro League, they placed 9th to 12th. Esports World Cup, although there was that weird format with like the last live or whatever, they placed like 9th or something like that. they're again 9th to 12th in Cologne. It feels like they're having a bit of a mental barrier cracking top 8 at some of these tournaments.
Yep.
It's not just a mental barrier as well. It's also speaking more about the game, because a couple of interviews we heard from. I heard it from Saw. I heard it from from Payne. I saw watched the game. I saw what they're doing there. They're getting red right now. They have certain tendencies where teams are taking more time studying them, right? And Saw keeps saying on Nuke, they love to reaggress. They always reaggress mid-round, always when they don't have info. And even when they have info, they will reaggress. And they lost a couple of crucial rounds on Nuke because of that. I look at the Payne game in Anubis. You know what Payne did? Contact. No telegraphing. Contact plays time and time on the T side, and they caught Mongolz with their pants down, right? They're getting red. You are now considered a threat to a lot of teams out there. People are going to study you, and that's something you're not ready for yet. So you got to evolve, right? You got to, and I hope they're watching. I hope someone is watching from the team, and I'm just giving advice. You guys are almost there. You just need a little extra, a little extra.
Yeah, maybe a factor, but we'll see how they go. I'm disappointed, but it's not a bad result, all things considered, at Cologne.
It's not bad. I'm just disappointed, man. It's like, it's like my dad when I gave my 90 out of 100 report card when I was a kid.
It's like your dad when you told him, I'm going to work in esports. He's like, I'm just disappointed.
He stopped talking to me after that, so that's there. Let's not go there.
That would anyway, not be like the equivalent of adding groups, though. So
we can call this like therapeutically challenged or something if you want to get into it, Blair. Like there may be.
I don't know about that, man.
I've seen how Blair deals with his problems, and I wouldn't recommend that be filmed.
Listen, we've gone through some trauma, actually, so we might actually be able to help you out. But anyway, we'll move on from that one. Speaking of trauma, actually, by the way, FlyQuest at Cologne. That's getting a bit traumatic, It's just like, boom, boom, off you go. See you later. Unfortunate. You lose to Big. I think that result was probably the more disappointing of the two to me, because you go up against Mongolz. I don't know, like, I'm kind of not mad whether FlyQuest wins or Mongolz wins in that matchup. Personally, I'm happy with either team going through from that position. But FlyQuest losing to Big, yeah, again, and that's a very good point as well, especially going into the RMR cycle, like where obviously in the next couple of weeks going to start the qualifiers for the RMRs. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the episode. Like, I don't think that's a great sign, obviously, for FlyQuest, the way things are going at the moment. Like, we had that, a little bit of a peak period around Chengdu where, they had that honeymoon period, your Dexers come in, your Urcast come in, things are looking pretty good at Chengdu. And then since then, it's been like, what? Again, like we've reverted back to the mean, unfortunately, and the results just aren't coming. And I feel like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't want to sit here and like talk shit about this team because they are easily the best team in ANZ and we want to see ANZ do well. But at the end of the day, the results are just not there. So what can you say? Like, go next, I guess. And that's what they've been doing. But I feel like that's literally, we've been in this position. We've been doing this podcast for like 3-4 years now. And I feel like we've been beating the dead horse for like the last 2 years.
Can I also add in one thing, right? Like, we look at the Chengdu run they had, and it was a decent standing. But if you look at the results, there was a Cloud9 win against a Cloud9 team, which is kind of dead. If memory serves me right, right? A VP upset, which I think is legit, right? They beat VP, but again, VP have looked like shit for quite a while as well.
That was the event just before, who was it that left VP and went to... Whatever. It was literally the event just before VP made the change. Perfect.
Just before. Wait, I'm taking a look real quickly here. There was James, Norbert, Flit, Mir, and Fame. Yeah, Mir was still there, but you can clearly see like they were going to be switching up a player. Like Electronic was going to be coming in. They beat Amiga very close fashion.
Yeah, it was the Mir and a team change.
And a team you expect them to beat, and then a closed map against FaZe, they got taken down, right? So it wasn't like a crazy win. And then I'm just trying to look at any international wins they've had, dude. It's been rough, dude. They beat Boss in EPL. Congratulations, I guess. Lost to Navi, lost to Heroic, beat Para, beat a shit team. Sorry.
They played Liquid close in EPL, if I remember correctly. But
there were a couple of matches where they're going to take it, and one was overtime. The other two matches were like 10, 13, 10, 13, right? And since then, that was a long time ago. Dallas lost to Spirit and Big. Then the Esports World Cup, closed map, lost to FaZe, smacked by Furia, lost to Big, smacked by Mongolz. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
I don't know. I just think there's like nothing new to really say. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, that was the results. Let's move on, more or less.
But they keep saying like it's a prac, right? The prac you get in Oz is just not good enough, right? So are you look? if they haven't said it out loud, and listen, they don't owe anyone anything. Let's be real about this, right? But expectations for us as fans of Counter-Strike from this region is for them to do good. We look at INS still has it. Look at fucking Dexter still has it, right? Leah's a little bit more up and down alongside backside as well. And I feel like the honest moves right now, take Ali out. I know it's been said to death. I just don't feel like he's able to fit with tier 1 Counter-Strike, man. You're the primary operator, and you're more times than not the bottom fragger, not really finding that impact. And sure, you might bring the good vibes, but hell, man, just get me standing behind you. I'll give you fucking good vibes. You know what I mean? And I don't have to sit in the server and not frag as well. So I don't know, pick up another operator. If not Aussie, pick up someone from outside. Do what Liquid did. Move to EU, get the prac. It's a bit of a struggle city. Come back to Oz, play the online games, I guess. But you can't just keep getting these spots playing from Oceania, getting those wins, because you are the best team here. Go to EU, or wherever big events, get smacked around and be like, yeah, but prac's pretty bad in Oz. I'm like, pick one. You know what I mean? Just pick one, because this ain't it. And it sucks because I'm seeing some of the talent in this team just being fucking wasted away, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah, I think the biggest tragedy would be if INS never really gets the opportunity to do more than he has done at this point in his career, because he has permanently been in an Aussie team. He hasn't had that Dexter moment or the Ricky moment or the JKS moment or the Sponge, Azar, any of these Australian greats that have gone overseas and had their shot. And some of them, had good careers but didn't do anything amazing. Like Ricky had a pretty decent career in North America, but he didn't do anything amazing. Dexter's got top 4 in a major. JKS is obviously Azar as well. And where's INS? Do you put INS in that category with those kinds of players, with Azar, JKS, Ricky? I do personally. I think, and I've been watching Counter-Strike now for almost 10 years. I've seen all of these guys' careers, and I think INS is up there with those guys. Obviously up there with Dexter as well. I feel like Dexter and INS pound for pound kind of go hand in hand, especially with the time that they've had as teammates and as competitors against one another in ANZ. They came through together. They grew together in the scene. And Dexter obviously went and had that opportunity to go and play internationally with a couple of teams, and even actually went over to Winterfox in 2016 as well. So he was maybe a step or two ahead of INS in that sense. But we've never really seen that opportunity for INS. And I just wonder, how would he have gone with those same kinds of opportunities? Would he be in the same sort of caliber and discussion as maybe someone like JKS? Would he not be able to make that kind of jump? I don't know, but we will never know potentially if he stays in this FlyQuest roster and if this is how it ends up being. So I don't know. I mean, look, everyone has to make their own decisions, and I don't necessarily blame these guys for doing what they're doing. I think they're on a good wicket, to be quite honest with you, but anyway, whatever. There's nothing really more to say. It's just the same old, same old. We'll see how things go. Obviously, there's still a good shot for the Asia RMR. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's move on to Skyesports Championship and see what the impressions were. I want to get your impressions, actually, Bleh. Have you heard anything in the fallout? Has there been much conversation in India? And then I can tell you guys what it was like from my experience on the ground.
Not really. I think after the initial, blowback from the Indian community saying, oh shit, here we go again, another event, just ruining the image of the country and all of that. I think they did a pretty good job turning things around, right? I think not many people didn't have a lot to complain about. I was in touch with a couple of players as well, some of the more tenured players on the teams, or coaches or whoever, and they were like, listen, they're like, hospitality 10 on 10, always been the case. And they were like, there were issues, we figured it out, we sorted it out, and we played it, and we didn't have too many complaints from other players. I did speak to a couple of other teams in Cologne as well, and they were like, Bleh. I'm like, hey, man. They're like, why weren't you there? I'm like, I wasn't working the event. They didn't get me. They're like, yeah, but dude, you should have hired you to at least handle the basic shit. And that's my gripe, right? Look, I feel Skyesports, the people, I've worked with them, I know them. They have the heart in the right place. I've said this many times. They have the heart in the right place. They like Counter-Strike. They're old school guys. They want to make it happen, right? And that's great. But for me, it's not even about the micro things. It's about just about overall planning, right? You have a pretty big prize pool. They up the prize pool, right? They up the number of teams coming in, but he didn't invest that money into the bare essentials of esports. It's not just about the glitz and the polish. They're putting so much money on the hotel rooms and the polish and the this and that. But end of the day, what's esports? Give good PCs, let them all play with each other, right? Make sure that the playing field is proper, and then just slap on, just show the game on its live stream and have a commentary happening. That's the most basic fucking thing, and that's where they failed. But they're able to turn it around in a couple of days once shit hit the fan. So I'm like, why wasn't this there before? So you did have access to the PCs, you didn't put in the money there. You did have access to the monitors, you didn't put in the money there. You did have fucking tables, and didn't do it there. Who is doing the quality control for you guys? Because this is unacceptable, right? You're doing an event in a hotel, and you're doing hotel internet, bro. Like, come on, right? So they were able to fix all these things in a span of a couple of days. So why didn't he do it on day one? That's my biggest gripe overall. I just don't get it. So yeah, that's going to be my criticism. The fact that heart in the right place and all of that. But if you're going to do a freaking event, especially with some of the bigger names coming in, make sure that the bare essentials, the more important fundamental things are handled, or hire people who can manage that for you. Because I know it's for player managers. They got some couple of player managers who work for ESL, who worked at the major and stuff. They got some right people to handle the players as well, right? So I'm like, cool, that's great, that's amazing. You're not keeping it only in-house, you're getting specialists to come in and handle that. Why can you get some admins? I saw some of the adminning as well, some pretty fucked up rules. Why can't you, clearly they don't know how Counter-Strike works. Yep. Get some Counter-Strike admins.
And for what it's worth, by the way, I know there are a lot of freelance admins going around right now after what's happened, obviously, with ESL and EFG and whatever.
Yes. Dude, there's so many freelancers out there. Mm-hmm. Yes, and then get like and even for the PCs and stuff, you can get like tech people who know Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike is very, very, very finicky when it comes to these things. We know it, right? Yeah. So if you don't know it, don't just YOLO it. Don't just talk to a contact who knows a contact to go to your local LAN and be like, yeah, I'm going to pick up a Samsung Odyssey 9 monitor or whatever. I don't even know what the fuck that model is, but like, guys, like, try to standardize it, right? It's available. It's not fucking, so a Tesla or something. So that's my issue. I have no problems with the fact that, they try to do something, they fail, but they're able to, bring it back. My thing is, it shouldn't have failed in the first place. It's not that hard, honestly. So yeah, that's it.
Well, I don't know. If I were to give it a rating out of 10 as someone that was involved with it, I would probably say like 6.5. Like,
that's pretty high.
I feel like 6 is like kind of pretty bad. At least in my mind, 6 is kind of like not great. I'd be looking at like 7 to 10 being like what you would want to be shooting for. So they were like almost there. Do you know what I mean? When it comes to events in Asia, when it comes to events that I have worked and I have a lot of experience with these kinds of events, my expectations were not like super, super high. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going into that going, yeah, this is going to be a fucking IEM Sydney, like, perfect everything. I'm going into it with like the mentality the same as I was going to like Extremesland or to Nomadic Masters, and I'm going, shit is going to be fucked. Like, I just know, because like I've been around long enough to know that shit's going to be fucked. I don't know what it is. Maybe it'll be the hotel, maybe it'll be the airport transfers, maybe it'll be the PCs, maybe it'll be the pack rooms. Something's going to be fucked.
Or production.
Something's fucked everywhere all the time. Nothing's ever perfect unless you're at like one of these S tier events, and even then people probably have something to complain about. So you kind of keep that in mind. That's where my head is at mentally when I'm going to these kinds of events. So when I say like 6.5, that's my context. I don't think the event was bad. I don't think the event was like amazing. It wasn't like standout for me. I wouldn't go so far as to say like this is one that like really put India on the map or anything like that. Like, it's like, yeah, there was definitely stuff that needed to be figured out. Like, having one day completely canned because of issues, that's not a great look. But I will give them credit because they obviously were able to bounce back. Like you say, they fixed it pretty damn quickly and did a pretty good job. In general, once I got there as well, like I didn't have any, like, actually by the time I was there was no issues. There was no issues anymore. All the issues were like during the group stages, and I was only there for the finals, for the final couple of days. So I got to the hotel. Hotel was great. Hospitality, like you say, was great. No complaints there at all. Venue generally looked really good, actually. I sort of I stepped into that hall and I was like, wow, this actually looks really good. So that was a big positive. I thought there was some like delays in terms of the broadcast. And I think for me, that's kind of like the biggest thing that I noticed when it comes to these kinds of events. It's just like, it feels like it takes forever to get through games. And I don't understand why. It's like, why are we having like an hour and a half break in between match 1 and match 2? Like, what's going on the stage? Are the players just going, yeah, we're not ready, and then the admins are not like pushy enough?
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
I heard that was a thing, because I don't know if maybe I'm reading into this too much. Maybe you can tell me, Blair. But people were saying, like, in Indian culture, like, you really want to make people feel like happy and welcome, and like, so they don't want to go, no, you have to start the game now.
Who the fuck said that?
I have no idea.
If they're using that as an excuse, I swear to God, I'll get violent.
It wasn't anyone to do with the event, by the way. I've just heard this like around the traps. But it was, I don't
give a shit. Yes, we in general try to be. It's an Asian thing, right? We try to be very polite and stuff to your guests. But you're a fucking admin. You're here to fucking do your fucking job. Game starts at 4. Game starts at 4. And I did hear that the players realized that admins are not pushy enough, so they took advantage of that, right? Yep. And I'm like, not calling the players, but listen, the players are always going to do whatever they can, right? You got to fucking lay down the law. So, yeah.
Anyway, look, I think at the end of the day, like, from my experience, the event was generally fine. Like, I had no issues necessarily.
Can you tell me about, like, the one side which we never really touched upon, because obviously, you know, I wasn't there, but I have worked the past couple of events as well, is like, when it comes to production, was everything smooth and easy, or was it like things could be improved perhaps?
It generally felt like things were like, again, like, fine. Like, there was no, like, it wasn't outstanding. It wasn't like I could go and say, oh, I want this on the analyst desk. Can you give me this, this, and this? I didn't really get that vibe, but you know, like, they had their graphics, and they had, like, the guys that I was working with spoke good enough English that, like, I could understand what was happening. They could understand what was happening. When we came on camera, like, there was no, like, massive 30, 45-minute delay, tech pause, fill kind of shit. It was like 10-minute, 15-minute segment, then we're into game. So there was no real issues with that. I would look at, like, some of the graphics and say, I think some of the graphics were just, like, completely, like, random graphics. It's like, why is this even a thing? Like, there was one graphic which was, like, damage to the fucking arm versus damage to the leg. It's like, no one gives a fuck, bro. Like, what is... Someone should have looked at this graphic and just gone, this is not... we won.
Did you have, like, at least like talk back and stuff at production?
No, I didn't. So when we were on the desk, we had, like, those fucking Madonna mics, like the IFB mics. So there was no talk back. But again, like, I didn't ever really feel like I needed to talk back. You know what I mean? The only thing was, it was stuff that there was stuff that you could fix, but it was not stuff that I could feel like I would go, I want this fixed by tomorrow. It's going to get fixed by tomorrow. It was like, this will be feedback for after the event. So feedback for the after the event is like, some of these graphics are just fucking shit. Like, just get rid of them. Like, they're not worth the time that it's taking the graphics operator to put them together. It would be nice if we could, like, for example, request. Can I get my words out? Request replays. I want to request some replays, please. So it's very hard as an analyst to just, they're like, now the replays are up, and you're like, fucking who knows what replays these are, and half the time they're probably not even great replays anyway. So look, at the end of the day, like, I didn't really care what was on the screen. I just sat down in my chair, said what I wanted to say, and that was that. And that's fine. Like, that, honestly, you can get by on a desk with that. But, like, if you want to, like, level up the event, you want to make it better.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want these tools available to people on the desk. And that's, I think, the next step for them. And again, like, it sounds critical, and, like, obviously it is critical in a sense, but it's not that it was bad. I'm not going out and trying to say it's bad. I'm trying to say these things could have been better from my perspective. Also, I felt like probably could have used another couple of casters. Felt like Dwayne and Jay were doing some pretty big days. They cast 3 BO3s in one day. Am I right in saying that? I can't remember. But anyway, they were doing a lot. And again, like, you can do that. You can definitely do that. And I've done that in the past. Like, we've done fucking 4 best of 3s in a day at something like Extremesland. But
that's not something we should be standardized.
Again, ideally, we would want to be having 2 sets of casters there. I mean, I think especially in the case where you can potentially get someone that's local, like yourself, Blair. Like, why are we not trying to bring at least another caster pairing in there? You know, you're presumably quite cheap to get from, like, a flight standpoint. Obviously, I know your rate is more expensive than another local talent might be, but, like, when they're dropping another $100,000 on the prize pool a couple of weeks out from the event, I question a lot of the decisions that happen. If that money doesn't, like, even appear, and it's like, yeah, we have budget issues. It's like, okay, fair enough. Like, you're trying to put this money, this event on a budget. I get that, especially in Asia. Like, fucking respect, bro. Like, the event itself, Fantastic stuff. Like, I couldn't fucking do that. But if you're going to drop $100,000 on the prize pool when teams are already like confirmed to come to the event, you're not even necessarily trying to get more teams or whatever.
More teams, yeah.
They added money to the prize pool and added teams to the event as well, if I remember right. And and then there's little things like, you know, we could have an extra talent pair, you know, or whatever it may be. Like, just little stuff like that where it's like, budget may have been an issue here, but it's like, but was it really? Was it really? So I don't know. Overall, I have to say, like, I'm not disappointed with the event. I'm not mad at all. I thought it was a good event, apart from the fact that, you know, they fucked up day one, but they fixed it. So credit, for sure, credit. I think that's positive signs, but there are definitely...
I'm going to wrap it up. I'm just going to finally wrap it up because I think we've touched upon it quite a bit. But like you said, right, the budget, you increase the price by 100K. You added dude, adding 4 more teams is that's lot expensive. Of money, by the way. That hotel's not cheap, by the way, right?
Oath.
So I've worked with them 2 events. And this is I'm just giving advice, right? If they're watching or, you know, whoever's listening in, the headsets are just not it, right? You need proper headsets, which is industry standard around the place. The audio setup's not great. And look, end of the day, to broadcast, the audio is everything, right? Get a couple of guys who know Counter-Strike there. I'm talking about maybe an in-house admin, or get the admins from outside, get an observer. There are a lot of freelance observers out there. You have to pay money, but you get a good product out of it. End of the day, once the event's done, your product is going to remain. It's going to be a legacy. You don't want that to be ugly or, you know, not great to watch, right? Get actual good observers out there. And then also, for graphics, right? Hire someone who's would broadcast. Some of those graphics, I've seen it. I've seen it, Elfish. It's pretty... I'm like, I don't know what these stats are. I don't know what these numbers mean. What do the numbers mean, Mason? Yeah. It's rough. These are very easily fixable things, right? Like, but there is an investment required, and it's a long-term investment. If they're going to stick around for a while and do more events, which they clearly have said they want to do, these are the things that you want to do. And I'm sure a lot of the other talent have not necessarily given feedback, because I understand that, you know, a lot of the tier 3 talents or whatever, tier 2 talents are like, listen, we're just going to do our job.
They did ask us for feedback, I will say, by the way. And
okay, that's fair.
I've given all of this feedback to them privately as well.
My gripe is when I gave feedback, they never really, at least in the second time I gave, they didn't really fix any of this from what I've heard, at least for the production side of things. So hopefully they do. Like I said, I don't hate the event. I think they did a good job turning it around. But what frustrates me is these things are so easily avoidable, and it wasn't. And that sucks. That's it.
Well, yeah, that said, decent event. I would, if someone would come to me and say, should I, as a team, go to India to play in the next event? I would say, yeah, why not? I can give it a crack.
Come to Bangalore, man. Much better city as well. It doesn't rain all the time. It's not humid as fuck.
Love to go to Bangalore. That'd be nice.
Although the city's called Bangalore, it's such a cooler name.
Yeah.
Mumbai, fuck that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We've got the XSE Pro League.
Mumbai guys hating on me. Sorry, go.
Fuck it. You're from Bangalore. That's fine. XSE Pro League. So this was another event, another live event that kind of was going on around the same time. So it's pretty cool. Like, what I will say is there's a few sort of events popping up in the Asia region now that are pretty cool. Skyesports was great. We didn't even talk about the results, by the way, but whatever. Fuck it. XSE Pro League. Results there were quite interesting. But I want to get your impressions of this event. Did either of you guys actually watch it? I watched a little bit. They didn't actually have an official English broadcast, but I was watching the English broadcast that was done by, I think it was by Capping TV, which was Has Daddy Slim and Flam were doing that one as the casters. And, you know, from what I could see of the event itself, it looked pretty good. Like, they had a fucking arena. It looked like the games were going on time. It looked like there wasn't really too many issues. And the games were on HLTV as well. So I don't know what everyone else thinks about XSE Pro League, but I thought it looked pretty fucking good.
Mitch, anything? He's been quiet for Skyesports because he was there.
Okay, he's got nothing to say.
My net is like, my net died. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You've actually been laggy this whole time, but yeah, you're...
I know, it's, so XSE Pro League. I actually didn't really even look. Oh, I saw some of the like camera work from the stage, and like it looked like an esports event. Like, if you didn't tell me what esports event that was, I may have guessed that it was like a better event than it was. So like from the perspective from the stream, it looked good, but I have no idea about.
But then you unmuted the casters and fuck me, bro.
I mean, I didn't like. Okay, so. For context, I was watching the games while working, so I was not listening to the casting. I was not paying attention that much, but like I was like watching Jam Young spray 3 people every now and then fist bump on the camera and being like, yeah, okay, cool. Like from what the clean feed was spat out and watching how the games unfolded for the, you know, maybe in total 45 minutes that I watched, seems good. I think in general it's fucking awesome that there's an event like that, like those kind of China events where it's like, oh shit, they invited an Aussie team, they invited a Mongolian team, they invited the team from fucking here, they invited the team from fucking here. It's like, yeah, this is the kind of events that I actually want to see all the time. So the fact that that is a thing is pretty fucking cool. And there is no shortage of, you know, these organizations in China that could potentially do something like that. So the fact that that's been put on by someone is cool.
Yeah, I've just gone AFK because I wanted to show you something. I don't know if I told you guys about this, but when I was in China for Chengdu, this XSE Pro League.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So the guy who runs it his name is Bjorn Wang, something like that. And he came
it's
to
like
Chengdu.
Swedish.
Yeah, it's something to do with like he lived over there or something like that. I think he might have studied over there. Anyway, so he came to IEM Chengdu and he specifically messaged me on Twitter. And he said, I want to meet you because I'm doing this thing and like, you know, whatever. I know you do Asia CS and stuff. And so the reason I want to bring that up is because what I really appreciate about this event, having not had I've literally not had anything to do with it. You know, I've not worked at the event, so whatever. But it seems like a very good event to have in China, that it's not associated with any of the big players. You know what I mean? It's not associated with a PGL or a Blast or an ESL or a Perfect World or any of this shit.
Yeah.
They're just doing it on their own. They're just fucking doing it on their own. So I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know where he's getting the money. Maybe he's fucking rich as. But I think it's fucking sick that this independent third-party tournament operator is able to put an event like that on. And I've spoken to him a couple of times, and he said to me that they want to build it. You know what I mean? They want to bring better teams. They want to invite better teams. And you would have seen BNK was there this year, one of the Aussie teams. They're trying to like integrate some international teams to come in, and they're building it in the same way that maybe you would see from the Nomadic Masters, for example, where it's like starting to become a bit more of a legit event with more international teams coming through. So he's trying to build something from the ground up. And what I was going to say about him individually is that he doesn't give me the vibe that he's just someone in here for a fucking fuck around. Like he's actually someone that's genuinely super keen on Counter-Strike. And yeah, I think it's pretty awesome that this event looks like at least it went really well. I obviously wasn't there, didn't watch a huge amount of it, so I can't necessarily say, but from what I saw, it actually looked quite good. So yeah, props to these guys. I want to see more.
I was more invested because of Tai Lu.
Yeah,
and just watching Tai Lu just steam run everyone. I did keep an eye on it. Yeah, new Tai Lu looks great. Again, yeah, caveat. They're playing a lot of Asian teams, gaming gladiators. The only EU team who've been getting absolutely fisted by everyone from Asia SC so far. Revenge for Copenhagen Major right there. Yeah, I wouldn't like. I have nothing else to add to that. I think just having events like this pop off where it's kind of unknown names, at least for us, and having international teams like this, high level of production and everything. More of that, please.
Yeah,
amazing.
I would also say, like, I feel like the Asia minor, we might not get all of the teams that I want to see play at an event like that. Like the fact that like Chingy's Warriors and Rare Atom and shit like that is playing at an event like that is sick, because like in a dream world, that's what I want an Asia minor to be. I want it to be like Atox, fucking Chingy's Warriors, Rare Atom, Tai Lu, like all of those in an event, but like due to I mean, no disrespect, but like, adding SEA teams, adding Middle Eastern teams for representation, you're mixing out a couple of third best teams in some regions who I actually think are pretty fucking good and can sometimes get a bit of an upset or be like dangerous for some of these teams. So
I think,
or like Huns, for example. So like, I would honestly prefer to see those teams in terms of skill, but the representation very important as well. So it's cool to see that. And I have to say, I'm not that surprised to see like a random organizer do something like that in China, because like even when I was boot camping in China, like for Valorant at the fucking boot camp center I was at, they had a fucking CS2 tournament while we were boot camping, and like people playing in it and shit just randomly. It's like, and I saw people all the time playing fucking 5e play at the Net Cafe and shit. So like, I was like, fuck, people are actually keen on CS here, you know, even just randomly in Shanghai and like fucking Net Cafe, one of the million fucking net cafes and boot camp centers, you know, they're putting on little CS tournaments. People are having some fun, you know, and I guess there's like, with how many resources and different little organizations there are in China, how many like fucking esports titles and probably esports events you've never heard of that all have like a certain level of production. Like, I'm really not surprised that there's some organization out there that's like, fuck, I reckon I know enough people to be able to put on a CS event, like, or like we fucking run this other esport here, and I reckon like this event would work for a CS event or something. Like, I'm sure there's potential to do a ton of more shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a really good opportunity for a lot of these like third-party TOs that are rocking up now in Asia to develop and build like that interest in the domestic product a little bit more so, and have its like own sort of individual flair. You know, like Skyesports, obviously, I feel like they're shooting for the stars a little bit, right? They're really trying to invite international teams and bring that in, but maybe you could scale that back a little bit, invite a couple more Asia teams and have that representation. Obviously, MESA Nomadic Masters, they have the Mongolian focus, so they have quite a few Mongolian slots. I think that's really cool, especially because of how competitive that region is. XSE Pro League have the opportunity to do the same thing, but with the China, you know, priority, I suppose, right, where they want to prioritize their teams. Fair enough. I fucking love that. And you know, you give a slot to Oceania, you give a slot to Mongolia, maybe at both of these events, and you know, India, if they're doing well, you know, you start to integrate that, and all of a sudden you've kind of got like a domestic scene that's kind of starting to build up on its own, right? And the Chinese viewers, they're going to watch XSE Pro League because it's a Chinese event and there's fucking tons of Chinese viewers. We know that. Indian fans are presumably more likely to watch a Skyesports Masters than they are to watch a Nomadic Masters, for example. And the Mongolian fans, I know, they fucking rock up and watch the Mongolian tournaments. So, like, you just have to focus in on your target audience, but keep it open enough that there's some interest from, you know, from ANZ, from China, from etc., wherever it may be. So, great opportunity, like you say, Pilski, for XSE or Skyesports or MESA Nomadic Masters to have like an Asia tournament that, you know, maybe you invite a couple of international teams in just to add that little bit of spice as well. I think that's a really great model, and it seems to be doing very well.
And this is what we theory crafted as well with, like, you know, the whole no more partnership leagues or whatever, you know, Valve was talking about. We were talking about like rejamming up the calendars and all that kind of stuff. You know, you are going to get, if you want to run tournaments like this, you need to be like, okay, like BNK got an invite to this event, you know, like, you're like, oh, I want to have an Australian team, but let's be real, fucking FlyQuest is doing this, Talon's probably off doing this, you know, and at some point you're going to start getting like, you know, the third best team in some of these regions. But that's what I'm saying. Like, but if you're inviting Chinkies Warriors to the event, bro, they might fucking rock up and be, you know, like take map of Tyloo or some shit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, though, like, you may well get a FlyQuest at some point, right? Like, if you just have the timing happen, like, a FlyQuest would not go astray at any one of these events. Like, they would actually be a reasonably competitive team. It would be I think it would be interesting viewing. Personally, again, I'm obviously a little bit biased that I am more into Asian CS than any Counter-Strike, really. So I'd like to see FlyQuest versus Tyloo, for example. Don't get to see that, really, ever. So, you know, if we would get FlyQuest at an event like this, I think that would be really cool. Anyway, we should move on from it, but I want to quickly say on the results. Tyloo smashing Rare Atom. Interesting, given the fact that obviously we're going into the RMR qualifiers and both those teams have to play in the RMR qualifiers.
And didn't Rare Atom like beat them when they were playing with Zoking or something pretty hard in one of the qualifiers for an event?
Very well,
Can we quickly touch upon, because I don't see it in the notes here, can we also quickly touch upon the fact that because of the way, you know, the events are covered, and I could be wrong, but I was reading and I was busy prepping for Cologne, so I didn't really have a chance to really dive into it. Yes, for the RMR invites and having Lynn Vision coming in.
Because I've got a segment for that, yeah. It'll be a little bit later, but yeah, we will definitely touch on that, and I agree, by the way, about what you're exactly about to say. The only thing I wanted to say before we wrap up XSE is Chinkies Warriors, low-key, kind of an interesting team. They're kind of chugging along nicely. They did really well at the Nomadic Masters. They did really well at XSE Pro League, so I know people are probably not looking very much at this team because they're not in ESL Challenger League, but there's a couple of good players on that roster, and they're like flying under the radar because you're like, who the fuck are these guys? But
yeah,
they're kind of interesting. They're actually kind of interesting. And also,
hey, don't say that about Zulkenberg. Oh man.
Okay, well, Zulkenberg's kind of the goat.
I remember his AWPing clip from fucking 2015. Yeah, 9 years ago.
That's right.
Remember that time
it's on my channel, by the way. You can look at it.
Never forget.
I've put it up
on my calendar, bro.
And the The other one is obviously you touched on Gaming Gladiators there.
He's
but man,
33. Sorry.
Poor Gaming Gladiators, man. They're fucking 33 too. They're probably aging about 6 years every time they come to Asia because they go to MESA and Master, they go out in last place. The same thing happens here.
If Mongolz can lose to like a 32-year-old and another 32-year-old playing with a bunch of the other Portuguese boys, then maybe it's time for all of us to make a team, guys. All right,
let's do it.
Fuck it.
Undefeated in Asia still, Pilski. I think you are, but
that's not true anymore. Wait, maybe just in CS. Maybe just in CS. I definitely have got my ass handed to me on Hong Kong servers by Koreans. Yeah, very hard.
Doesn't count.
They play like their life is on the line every fucking game.
All right, let's move on. Yami to Atox. This is a bit of an older change. It has happened a little while ago, but we haven't had an episode since then. Pilski, we've given our thoughts when we've been casting them on ESL Challenger League, but kind of like this change. Like low-key, we've been waiting for Yami to get on a good team for a while, and I feel like Atox is that team. Based on what you've seen from him so far in ESL Challenger League, are you still hyped? Because I don't know, I thought he did fine. It wasn't anything like crazy. But going into this Asia RMR, I think, again, Atox plus Yami could be a really dangerous team.
Whoever is GMing Atox, they need I want to give them a big kiss because they're doing exactly what I fucking want. All these teams that disappoint me to do, you know, I don't know, FlyQuest, for example, where I feel like the Mongolians, bro, they're so cutthroat with the changes sometimes. They're just fuck, bro, we just had our best result ever. I'm going to kick this cunt and kick this cunt going into the next. They literally kicked 2 people. They picked up the new All-Pro and they picked up Yami when they had their best result of the fucking RMR ever. They're most teams are let's just see how the next one goes, bro. You know, we did pretty good last tournament. Oh, we lost a couple games in ECL, but it's no big deal. I'm sure we'll be fine. Bro, they're like, fuck it. Let's just keep upgrading the roster. Let's just let's keep cooking. And I'm here for it because I'm watching them in ECL. I know that, you know, ECL games that are on at the same time as IEM Cologne may not be on people's prime priority viewing list, but I'm watching, you know, Annihilation run around and get 4Ks with a deagle and fucking Yami multi-fraggy out of his mind, and I'm like,
Annihilation, the greatest deagler of all time for Asia. Not up though,
bro. I don't know. I'm watching them noob bash a little bit against some of the other Mongolian teams, but looking at this team, it kind of reminds me of Mongolz a little bit, where it's I feel like there's legit 4 cunts on this team that can pop the fuck off and drop 30. Yeah. Dobul and Cabal, for some reason, just inexplicably have insane games sometimes. Yami is capable of it. Annihilation seems like he's capable of it at the moment. MIQ is just there, and that's all he needs to do.
Exists.
That's all he exists. And you know what? I was the player on some teams where I existed. I fucking licked the wall and played anti-flash, and we won games. Sometimes you just need a cunt like that, while you know, the other guys go in and get horny.
Seems good. All right, that's a quick one. We can move on from JKS to Liquid. Are we horny for JKS on Liquid?
Bro, yeah. I don't
pretty
know,
rock hard, man. He's looking pretty good.
Yep.
It's kind of okay. This might sound a little strange, but when they lost to FaZe in that epic comeback, I don't even call it a throw. I think FaZe just played amazing. They just kept disrupting them, played just lights out, right? I mean, it was a FaZe game, you know. Everyone's had to go up against that at some point or the other. And you look at the cams of everyone else, everyone's obviously disappointed, but JKS had his head in his hands, right? Now it's a very sad image right there. But for me, in a weird way, it's a great image for JKS and the team, because it's fuck it, it means so much to him. He's so invested. Yeah. He's not checked out. He's fuck, we had it. And he seems happy in his team, right? He's smiling, he's laughing, everyone's having a good time. This new ultimate kid is fucking, I don't know where the fuck he came from, the woods of Poland or Krakow or whatever, but he's been a great find as well. I think this team is a team I can really get behind. I don't necessarily think some of the wins they initially had is going to be very sustainable overall. I think, you know, obviously there's going to be some growing pains once the honeymoon period dies out, but yeah, JKS finally found a home, and I think it's a pretty fucking nice home.
Yeah. I think overperformance, to be honest, I mean, everyone talked about Ultimate for the most part, where it's you know, he didn't have that many bad maps for someone that fresh. How long is that going to keep up? Pretty questionable, if you ask me. And JKS, I think, is just he's just doing what JKS always does, which is just rocks up. Literally has played 22 maps and he has a 1 rating. You know, he goes 10 for 10 every game. Sometimes he's you know, playing a site and he's getting like a key 2K or something. But like, yeah, he literally is just like, you know, he's not, I don't know, like he's like the Australian sweetheart, but like, you know, if you take the nameplates off, he's just like a role player, you know, he's not a particularly exciting player. He's just like, yep, I'm sitting under balcony on Mirage. I'm getting like 1.5, you know, but it's like delivering what you expect. And in his roles, it is like, I don't know if it's like amazing, because there's like players that do get a ton more out of those roles, like some of the riflers on Vitality and shit like that. And those are the players where you're like, fuck, this guy's like outstanding. But like he is an above average performer in those roles. And like on a team like Liquid that wants to be like a top 10 team in the world, that's good.
When you have twists enough in the team, you just, you don't need another like, crazy wild star, honestly. And I think the roles make sense. Ultimate as an opera is great as well. And of course you have Yakinder, who I think is having a bit of a resurgence as well in his team, right? He looked like fucking garbage in that Liquid experiment. That didn't quite pan out. So I think the pieces work. And I think JKS is we're gonna be seeing smiling a little bit more than we used to see. So yeah.
Happy days, happy days. All right, well, apparently we're horny for JKS on Liquid. We're horny for Yami on Atox. That might be a little bit illegal because I'm pretty sure Yami's underage. But are we horny for the Alter Ego CS team? Which I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet, because it feels like that's been around for ages. But Bentet, Freeman, Zine, Waste of Ammo, and it was Splashkey, but now Splashkey's not on the team anymore. And it's Aid Kit, some guy from Syria. I've never seen a player from Syria before on a team.
So
but, are they good?
We'll find out. Wait. Who did they remove? They switch a player out, right?
Yeah, minus Splashkey.
Splashkey, yeah. I was a little sad about that, because I did like the fact that they had like some of the best players in the respective countries. You had Freeman from Hong Kong, you had like Zine and Benton and all of that. Look, from what I heard, it's Alter Ego. It's an actual org. It's an actual CEO.
It's a very legit org. Yeah.
I didn't know about that, really, because initially I thought I didn't see them in CS in the past, right? So it's good to know that they have found a home, but let's be real. This Benton Zine combo has been around for a while, and while the name value of these players still, there's a legacy that comes with them, they haven't done much in the past recently. And I'll tell you this, it is very fucking competitive right now in CS2.
It is.
Right? So when it comes to, more than ever, more than it's ever been. And if it comes, even forget international, even when it comes to Asia, I look at his team, I'm like, I think I could name 6 teams better than them easily, maybe even an 8, right? I can't even squeak into a top 8. I don't think so. At least based on results.
A better team in Southeast Asia going into the Asia RMR qualifiers? Because we can pivot this into the Asia RMR qualifier conversation.
Yeah, man. God's reign. Boom. There we go. They've done more.
I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I think that would actually be quite kind of an interesting matchup, because I'm not sure who would win that one. But anyway, look, Alter Ego CS team, we don't really need to touch on it too much unless they do something of relevance. But they are just an interesting team.
I will keep an eye out on them. Obviously, we all are, Bented. We love a Bented. We love Zine. We love Freeman. But until they do something, I think it'd be stupid of us to give any expectations.
Alter Ego is kind of like a big deal in Valorant. Like Valorant's Indonesia is one of the most competitive countries in Asia. And they have this guy. They came second, so they almost qualified for Ascension. In Valorant, and they like barely lost to one of the best teams, at a team that a lot of people said should have gone to franchising, like when that was initially a thing. It's coached by Asterisk and Rozo, who you guys probably know from CS. A lot of the old CS guys
that's an old guard.
Yeah, and they're also known, I'll just put this out there, for having a cunt on their team who only buys a shotgun. He doesn't do it anymore, but won the Indonesian event only buying a shotgun. Playing shotgun only.
Wait, I've heard of this guy.
Yeah, he's on TikTok.
I actually heard of this. Yeah.
We scrimmed them in China when I was like coaching before, stupid. And he literally, like, when you have those Asian guys that you play against in the scrims where it's just like they just do that, like they'll run down mid on Inferno on CT side, and you're like running your default and 2 people die. Yeah, this guy's like the epitome of that. He's like, he plays this Raze character, and he just like is flying through the sky 5 seconds into the round and like one taps someone. And when you're like, you're on your 4th scrim of the night and you're like, you're just like going through the motions, and then this cunt's just like next to you and just kills.
To be fair, every time when I used to play Valorant and I have like these mad, really good Raze movement cunts coming at me and destroying me,
one of those.
I had respect. I have respect for that.
It does take skill. Yeah,
it takes skill. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's but like the reason why I bring that up is because this feels. I mean, the NKT thing is one thing. Obviously, Zion has a lot of name value as well, but this almost kind of feels like alter ego being like fucking Bentet, like carry Southeast Asia for us. Like, I feel like there's been a couple of these orgs. There was like that Bigatron one or whatever.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Like these are all orgs where it's like they do like mobile esports or they do like Valorant and shit like that. And I think they're just like, you know, they're going to Bentet. And Bigatron is another one that plays in this, you know, Challenges Indonesia for people that don't follow Valorant. And they're like, you know, Bentet's like the, you know, the name brand, like sweetheart, left in CS. And maybe they're just trying to back him and hope that he can take him to the minor.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go to the major, but maybe they can go to the minor. That's a possibility. We'll talk about that now. I guess we got a nice little pivot there for us. The RMR qualifier, what are our expectations? Now, to touch on, and this is where you wanted to go earlier, Bleh, the invites have gone to Mongolz, FlyQuest, and Lynn Vision. Now, I don't think anyone can really argue against Mongolz and FlyQuest at this point, but Lynn Vision getting an invite is a little bit sad to me. I think this is a big no-no.
Yeah. I agree, and I think, and this could, again, I might be talking about ass here. I read a couple of posts from other Asian fans out there. Hi guys, talking about why this transpired, and from what I understand, HLTV wasn't covering the Challenger League
only
in
the
Asia.
Playoff games go on HLTV. They don't do the round robin.
Yeah, well, but they're doing for Asia only. We're doing it for everyone else. And Tyloo, this new Tyloo team has been basically just fucking curb stomping everyone.
12-0 or something. Yeah.
And if they had considered that, Tyloo, I believe that someone did the math. They're like, Tyloo would have been a team picked as one of the invites. And in my head, those are the three best teams we have right now from the region. Tyloo, Mongolz, and FlyQuest. And the rest can fight for the remaining spots, right?
I agree.
But the fact that they have Lynn Vision here, I think it's a wasted spot. Right now, Lynn Vision, they are amputated. They're struggling, and hopefully they bounce back over time. I think there are a couple of pretty solid players there. This is not a team that should be invited, and that's a big flaw in the system.
Yeah, I think watching last season at ECL finals, Starry was hard carrying Lynn Vision, and they still should have lost to Atox. Like, I don't think Lynn Vision's even better than Atox. I don't even know if Lynn Vision is better than Rare Atom, to be honest, right now. Like, I don't even know if they're the second best team in China. So the fact that they're an automatic invite into the Asia RMR is a bit of a disgrace, because I think you could easily make an argument that they might not even make the event if you put them through the qualification system.
I agree.
Yep, I agree. I 100% agree, and that's kind of like where I wanted to go with this, because it's just disappointing that, like, you know, last RMR, was it last RMR? Yeah, it was last RMR. We had the whole thing of like, oh, now we don't have the extra O slot and fucking whatever, like this fucking extra Middle Eastern slot. So there was that whole drama. And then it was like, okay, well, you know, that sucks, but it's only one RMR. And then by the time we get to the next RMR, there will have been time for
the system will fix itself.
This to get figured out. The system will fix itself. There'll be more matches happening, more Asian teams playing. And that, to an extent, has been the case. Like, the slots have kind of worked out in the way that you would expect them to. The issue is that the invite has gone to a team that we probably wouldn't want it to. And again, when you take into account that now, as we head into 2025, these are going to become more and more relevant, these invites and what have you to certain events and how that all works. It's just a little bit disappointing. Bitter taste in your mouth, because this Tyloo roster looks like the quote-unquote Chinese super team. They're the exciting team that we'd probably be wanting to see at this Asia RMR. And then on top of that, Rare Atom is looking like actually kind of good. So I kind of agree with you in the sense, Pilski, that I'm not sure that Lynn Vision would actually make this RMR if they had to go through the Chinese qualifier.
I love the guys at Lynn Vision, but like, they are looking worse than I've ever seen them look as a team. And even the core players of the team, like, I'm watching them in ECL like pretty regularly. I pick their games to watch, and I'm not that impressed at the moment.
And you look at it from the perspective of like someone like Kaze, for example. It's like, fuck, man, this guy has been one of the best players from Asia, from China, certainly. Obviously, he's not Chinese, again, just to put that out there, because someone's going to, he's Malaysian. It's like, yeah, okay, we know. But he plays in China. And this guy, like, he hasn't played at a major in like fucking, I don't know, how 5 years, something like that. And probably won't even qualify for the RMR now, because they're going to have to go up against Tyloo, which is the team that, again, like, you kind of got the fucking Fab Five now.
And I will say as well, it does, like, it's like worrying as well, because like, yeah, we'll say guys like Tyloo will auto qualify, but let's be real, like Tyloo, they stomped Rare Atom on LAN, right? Like the current Rare Atom on LAN, but online, although it was playing with Zoking, like Rare Atom did beat them in a qualifier to go to Rio, you know?
But that was a lot earlier on in the life cycle of the Tyloo roster. I
agree, but like still, I don't know, it's like 4 out of 5 of the players, and you got Starry on the roster, but like it's online CS and it's fucking Rare Atom, you know, like there is a 1 out of 10 or like a 2 out of 10 that Rare Atom can beat Tyloo and go to the RMR, and then you'd miss one of the top 3 teams, you know? Yep. It's online CS, and Rare Atom's a good enough team to, you know, push them a little bit. And especially in China, like this is the whole reason Lynn Vision got name brand value, guys, because they got good enough at winning domestic matchups over teams that they shouldn't be beating. Or like even Tyloo, for example, back in like the era of them playing Vici all the time, we used to fucking say like, bro, I reckon Vici Gaming's a better team than Tyloo, but they'll never go to these international events because they can't win the domestic matchup. Yep. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. At the end of the day, like there's obviously nothing you can do about it. That's the system, but it's just another opportunity where you have to sort of beseech HLTV in this case and say, like, if you're going to have this power now in the sense that like, the HLTV matches, whether it's on HLTV or not, is going to be a deciding factor in whether or not teams are now getting ranking points to go to big events like this. Is it time to reconsider something like an ESL Challenger League? Now, I understand there are some challenges with domestic events and match fixing and whatever, and these issues, but I mean, it's the ESL Challenger League. It is not, look, it's not, is it the premier competition in Asia? Probably now, yes. Like, let's be real. Like, there isn't like an Asia league outside of ESL Challenger League that teams can consistently play in. So I would argue that that event at least should be given some kind of consideration or some sort of exemption maybe to whatever rules they have, where they don't want to have like whatever fucking formats or this or that online when it comes to Asia, or I don't know what it is, why they don't have these events on. But I think you would look at the ESL Challenge League and say, okay, at least for this one, which is the one where teams are really competing to try and actually be good, let's try and make an exemption for at least this so that we can get some kind of an accurate picture of where Asia is at from ESL Challenger League.
And let's be clear as well. Like, you know, the reason why they're not on there is obviously a big contributing factor of the concern around match fixing. And I'll be 100% honest, bro. Match fixing or not, I can't tell you if anyone's match fixing in ECL. But I watch the games in ECL, and there are teams that are literally just fucking running it down, and people will bet on that. And like, I could tell they're not trying. I've watched a player on CT side, Ancient, push A main every round, a W into spawn on CT side, and they still won against some of the weaker teams. And it's like, yeah, it's fine. Like, just don't have people fucking betting on it then, if that's a concern. But like, it can't have an impact on the fucking Asia shit.
That's not up to HLTV. That's the thing, is like, I don't know that, like, there's no fix, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, but at least maybe we can have nice things. Now, what I would say is, what is the difference between an ESL Challenger League Asia as opposed to, you know, some fucking Ding Dong Lalabang Cup from CCT fucking South America? Like, does the same kind of bullshit happen in these
of course it does.
Fuck events?
Of course it does.
Why is it a thing for Asia only?
Are they hate us because we're from Asia?
They hate us.
Yes. It's true. And look, I know where it comes from, because there were some very prominent cases, and this is a long time ago, man. But I remember when HLTV took off all Asian, tournaments Asian games, from all of them, and then it slowly started adding it back and all that. So I get where they're coming from, but I agree with you. There's so many of these fucking ding dong cups. I love that. I'm going to use that one day. Which is happening in the Americas, in the EU. And we know for a fact there have been cases of match fixing, of teams throwing it, like, very publicly available, but that doesn't mean they're not going to feature those games. So I'm like, hey, if you're featuring them as well, help us out a bit here, because we actually had a rough... What's up?
All I'm going to say, Blair, is if this fucking Joel guy can get on fucking 15 teams after being caught cheating 3,000 times, maybe ESL Challenger League can be on HLTV as well.
But to be fair, that's not on HLTV though, right?
I know.
But I agree. I think we could have ECL, man. Maybe being on HLTV teams might even play a little bit better. I don't know. What I know is
maybe you have teams take it more seriously. Yep.
Tyloo got robbed, and Lynn Vision got a spot they didn't deserve in a fucking major, and it's because, well, HLTV didn't cover it.
Not in the major, in the minor, but anyway. Yeah.
In the minor, yeah, whatever, you know.
I would like to know, maybe if there's anyone from HLTV that is watching this. I don't know if they do. What actually is the reason at this point? Because we talk about this every now and then. Like, it kind of comes up like every sort of like 2-3 months, something to this effect. Like, why is this not on HLTV? I'd like to know, like, what actually is it? Is it because of the match fixing? Is it because of manpower? Is it because of this or that? Is it just a decision for whatever reason? Rather than us, having to
speculating.
I think it's I could be very wrong here. I just feel like they just haven't gotten around to it. That's what I feel.
Yeah, maybe. Even if it's just like a private message, like, hey, this is why it actually is, and then I fucking shut up about it. You know what I mean? But until that point, I'm just like, why is this? This makes no sense. Anyways, look, we've talked about that.
I will say as well, just quickly before we move on from it, because most of the discussion's been around that. I think for the open qualifiers, like the slot distribution, some of them are interesting and some of them I'm not that interested in. I don't really think the SEA and the Middle Eastern qualifiers interest me very much. The China one's interesting because we already mentioned it. The Rare Atom Tai Lu thing. East Asia's interesting because you're going to have like Chinggis, Warriors, Huns, and shit like that.
I actually want to talk about this, by the way. Like, not to just sweep by it. Like, I want to go through them.
And the OS one is super spicy. I don't know if you want to go into that, Jordan, but like, that I think OS might be the most interesting qualifier this time around with all of the stuff that's happening. And a similar thing happened in Valorant as well recently for the like international qualifier spot, where there are actually a lot of teams like boot camping overseas and shit and actually try harding to get the spot.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, we've got our 3. We've got Mongolz, FlyQuest, Lynn Vision. So let's just say now, because I'm pretty sure we're not going to get an episode in before the RMR qualifiers happen, because I'm going to be overseas as of next week again. So the RMR qualifiers are going to occur before the next episode. So what would be the 8 teams that we expect to see actually at the RMR? Obviously, Mongolz, FlyQuest, Lynn Vision. We'll leave Oceania to last. That's the most interesting one. Let's get rid of the Middle East. I think, honestly, I don't really have anything to even say on Middle East. I don't even know what teams there are going around right now in the Middle East. You can see this Nom esports roster, which is Moray. Again, he's been at a couple of the Asia RMRs in the past. Looks like he's in another team. I know that a lot of the usual suspects, like Mestal, for example, I think he's in a European team now. So maybe there's a door open for Middle East. I don't imagine either of you guys have really much to say when it comes to the Middle Eastern qualifier, but it'll just be whatever team ends up getting through there. So no real questions there. For Southeast Asia, gets a little bit more interesting because obviously you've got those Indian rosters of God's Reign True Rippers that have got the invite. Plus, we're seeing this Alter Ego team. And then there was the fucking Thai team. Was it NKT, the Thai team? They'll probably play in this.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's a few teams where it's like, this could be interesting. But for me, I'd look at that and probably say, I'd like to see it be maybe like God's Reign or True Rippers. I think at this point, like having an Indian team at the Asia RMR would be kind of nice.
It would be wild.
Yeah. Because like there's been a lot of investment in India, and we sort of had the same conversation last time, and I believe that slot ended up going to the SEA team, which was it Bigatron, or the team that became Bigatron? Derek Waste of Ammo, whatever the fuck.
Mongolian boys on it.
Yeah. But it wasn't a Indian roster, and I would like to see an Indian roster there. God's Reign or True Rippers. I think this is the time, Like, you've had your moments. True Rippers, they played at Skyesports Champs, and
they've been playing a lot, by the way, these two teams, grinding it out, all the online stuff, so yeah.
Yep. So I think that would be best case scenario, in my opinion. East Asia qualifier, well, that's going to be Mongolia. Anyone thinks anyone that's not Mongolian is going to get through that, then fucking good luck. Although GR Gaming, probably not. But Chinggis and Atox, very enticing prospect. I will go Atox for this one, personally. But Chinggis is... See, this is where you
come into play, man. Yeah, it's a discussion to be had.
Yeah, I think it could be either of them. I don't know. Hans has continued to underperform, but like still...
Yeah.
Like, if I saw Hans 1, I'd be like, finally, they did something. Because, like, bro, how is it that Score and Bartak and all those blokes are on a team and they, like, can't do shit? That's just absurd to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is, though.
Core, dude.
Yeah.
He's all
Chinese
now.
qualifier. Yeah, he is. I've seen that, too. Chinese qualifier, like, again, Tai Lu versus Rare Atom. We talked about that a little bit already. Just kind of sad that it's only one of those teams that gets to go. Because, again, if Lynn Vision was in this qual... Who knows what would happen? There'll probably be a couple of more interesting Chinese teams as well, kind of popping up there, like Steel Helmet or whatever. Cat Evil, apparently Splashy's playing on Cat Evil right now. I don't think they'll do too much damage, but could be interesting. But for me, like Tai Lu goes through from China, and then Oceania, yeah, like you say, Pilski, like this is where the real spicy shit happens. And I don't even know if there's a team here that I'm like, yeah, I want that team. You know what I mean? Like
really?
Rooster, Housebets, Mindfreak, KZG, Semperfi, Talon. Like, whoa. Yeah. What the fuck?
Crazy. Bro, ECL at the moment, for anyone, I mean, like the 99% of people who don't watch it on the podcast, it is a clusterfuck right now. Like teams, there's been a massive roster shuffle because Talon picked up like some of the best players from the top 3 teams. Yeah. It's caused a massive domino effect and like trickle down of roster changes, and there is no consistency from any team at the moment. Teams are dropping maps all over the place. You're seeing teams that weren't that competitive up the top of the ECL rankings. Mindfreak just picked up fucking Texter, and they got like Texter, Tux, Ricky as like a core. So players who have played at massive events at majors. Semperfi is like this new team that's like boot camping overseas.
Can we just touch on that Mindfreak for a moment here? Tux, Texter, the redemption arc. The VAC bros.
Bro, I'm here for it. I'm fucking here for it, actually. You know, Texter's kind of fucking... He's got like a 1.5 rating at the moment. He's like owning. And Ricky's kind of owning as well. Like, I don't know, bro.
Imagine the world
where Pain is like the only alt prospect as well in OS in a while that I've been like, yeah, all right, it could be good, you know? So...
Just imagine that they make that run, and like, because people are going to be like, oh yeah, fucking Semperfi and Talon and of course Rooster and Housebets, and then Mindfreak out of nowhere. It's just like, suck.
I don't know. I'm not that high on Semperfi. The fact it intrigues me that they're actually like boot camping and shit, but I don't know if I like care that much about Semperfi. Like, I know that there's like hype around the team and a lot of promotion around the team, but like still haven't seen anything for them. So like, I'm not that excited, but like, I want to see Talon because I obviously like you get a big org investing in the project, and like you getting some of like the top talents in OS, but at the same time they did it so close to the qualifier that like I don't know, bro. Like I don't know if you're gonna have enough depth to like not just randomly bomb out because like oh fuck we really aren't that good
playing in Challenger League. Where are they actually playing?
Yeah, they're playing in Europe. Yeah, they're playing like Hellcase Cup and shit like that.
They played a couple of good games, I thought, if I remember right.
I don't know.
I was watching them when I was in Saudi Arabia.
I think they got through to the playoffs of Hellcase Cup because someone FF'd. That's why. Like, TSM smashed them. Like, Acore was like running it down mid with an AWP at them and fucking owning them. Pretty. And
they had them win against Young Ninjas. People were like, oh, they beat Young Ninjas. I remember that. That's what it was.
Yeah, bro. I mean. It's kind of like Extremum, you know, where it's like they played a lot of the tier 2, tier 3 European tournaments, and they were like struggling to win, and people were like,
"Well, which team would you want to see out of Oceania make it through?"
Oh, fucking hell, bro!
I want to see Talon do it.
I just look at some of the Talon because I like the project.
I also like the players, and if it clicks, I think it could be exciting. And it could be a real counter to FlyQuest, you know, someone who can really challenge them if it really clicks. I'm looking at the name values and all of that, so yeah.
What about who's on Rooster now? I feel like Rooster is going to fly under the radar. They picked up Slimy.
Yeah.
You think Rooster now is going to be good?
I don't think they're going to be good, but I think they could win this qualifier. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but they were look just so hot in Challenger League.
Yeah, they're dropping like maps to Challenger League, like teams in Challenger League as well. But like, that's the feeling that I get, bro. Like, I want it to be Talon, but like, I feel like they're so new, and like Semperfi is putting in the work. I feel like this is going to be one of those weird ones where like Talon gets knocked out like 5th or something, and then like you get like Rooster versus Semperfi, or you get like Rooster versus Semperfi, like Semperfi versus Mindfreak, and you're going to get some weird team at the RMR. Like, I really wouldn't be surprised if that happens from OS. The parity is crazy, guys.
Is there a team that we would be disappointed? You know what I mean? Like, if it was like, if Mindfreak goes, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's a cool storyline. If Housebets goes, it's like, oh, okay, they finally get to have another crack. Rooster goes, cool. Talon goes, cool. Semperfi goes, cool. Like, I'm not mad about any of those teams. If I got my ideal world, here's my thing. I think it would be Talon. And I think it's because you guys talk about liking the project and this and that, liking the names, and like, fair enough. But I just think it's kind of important that if there's going to be some kind of investment in the region from legit org, that actually kind of pays off in the sense. Like, you don't want this talent roster to get put together. Obviously, they're a team that's put together to be a team that's competitive, not just in ANZ, but potentially globally, certainly Asia, to just completely bomb out in their first event. Like, that would be like, okay, well, that was cool for like 3 months, and then Talon's like, yeah, we're out, and we're never coming back.
I also think as well. I don't even know if they ever necessarily thought they were always going to have an OS roster, because I remember reading that as an interview, and he was like, we weren't sure if we were going to go European or not, which kind of tells you like they never like were always all in on an OS roster.
Yeah, but if you read
maybe
the
it was like a
or there was a tweet or something that one of the Talon guys made, like one of the owners of Talon, and he said, like, we're Aussie or something, and we actually do care.
The owners are Aussie. Yeah, the owners are Aussie. I saw the video as well.
I like that, and I would that again, and that's the reason why it's like, if they're going to invest in the region and they're going to try and prop it up, like, I think there is an onus, there is an obligation for that team now to actually deliver some kind of a result. I'm not saying fucking qual for the major, like, that's a bit of a stretch, but at least make it out of ANZ against teams that are looking a bit wishy-washy at the moment.
I also think that if Talon succeeds, it may, in the long term, fix FlyQuest as well, or like whoever the best Aussie team
galvanize
is.
the region a little bit,
Because if you have a consistent second team that has some talent that's getting better, like, you could in the future be like, all right, well, let's be real. Whichever org is more serious about it, like, they will get the players that they need. Whoever turns out to be good, and I think we've seen enough of FlyQuest like the last 2 years to be like, okay, like, this roster clearly has some players that show potential. They can sometimes upset, they can sometimes take maps, but I don't think they're ever going to be consistently a top team.
Look, if you're still watching at this point of the episode, let us know who you'd like to see at the Asia RMR of all the regions. But for us, Mongolz, FlyQuest, Lynn Vision, obviously, it seems like Tyloo's the consensus from China. Seems like Talon is the consensus from Oceania. From East Asia, Chinggis versus Atox. I'm saying Atox.
I'm saying Atox, but I would be fine with either.
Yep, Atox. From SEA, I'll go God's Reign. I'd like to see God's Reign there. And then from Middle East, I think we don't have any fucking clue about Middle East. So
I don't know.
Our sort of 7 or 8, let's say.
Whoever Tox says is good. I'll just go with whoever Tox says is a good team. Exactly. And go, yep, this one.
Get him on for another episode. All right, we'll wrap the episode up here with the viewer question, which was from Jean, and this was from like fucking 3 weeks ago. So sorry for taking so long, but it happens. She wants to know what's up with the Shanghai Major being planned as a remote broadcast. Seems weird after the Perfect World involvement in Extremesland, which did have an on-site desk for English broadcast. And I agree. I believe they announced or said that they are doing the Major as a remote broadcast for English. So I kind of get it for the RMRs. But for the Major, that would be the first Major ever that didn't have an on-site English broadcast?
The Stockholm Major 2021, because of COVID, the group, it was supposed to be remote, but the playoffs did have everyone flying in.
Yeah.
To Stockholm.
That's a bit of a...
But that was because of COVID and shit, yeah.
But I'll just say, as a caster, if I'm not in the arena, that's an L.
It sucks.
Yeah. Yep. Especially if they're doing overnights, which I assume you are, from Romania to China.
I think the last time when I was doing the CAC for the English broadcast from the PGL studios, like, the call time was like 4 a.m. and shit, right?
Rough.
And listen, I mean, I was very fortunate to do even on the desk, I was so fortunate to have to do work the last Major with the crowd and everything, and just the interaction. Look, it doesn't even have to, I mean, obviously going to be Chinese crowd and everything, but still, right, having feeling that it really adds on to the broadcast. I think it's from what I understand, I could be completely wrong here, talking out of my ass. I think it's a call made by Perfect World, I guess, because they're like, hey, Chinese audience over here, PGL, you guys are partners, but maybe they don't want to have extra setup over there, right? It's going to be quite a bit of investment, so that's the decision they've taken. And yeah, I mean, I won't lie, as a fan and even as someone who works, who at least worked a lot of RMRs in the Major, it does suck a bit. Because Shanghai's cool, man. Shanghai's great as a city,
I think this is the first time really that I feel like this is kind of being done at a big event in CS. Like, it has happened, obviously, at a couple of things and stuff like that, remote broadcasts. But, like, at a major, certainly this feels like, for me, a step in the wrong direction. I know that Riot had done it a little bit for their Worlds every now and then. Like, Analyst Desk maybe was... I don't know the specifics because I'm not super in-depth, but I believe that there was, like, a situation where, like, Analyst Desk might have been remote, something like that, and... Look, you can do it and you can make it good. And honestly, for viewers at home, especially if it's just the analyst desk, like, I think you can do it without even knowing that like they're not on site. But I just think for a major, like, it would be nice to have, like, let's just be real, like, at least playoffs or something. Like, have the finals casters be in the arena or something like that, because it makes such a difference. I don't know who's casting at this major. Obviously, at this point, maybe people don't know yet. Maybe it is still yet to be decided.
I don't think anyone knows yet.
Yeah, but like, if I'm someone who's, like, let's say, going and casting at the major, and I'm casting the major grand final, and I'm in a fucking studio on a time zone that's like the opposite of the time zone where the event's happening, like,
with the
that
delay,
just feels bad, man. Like, it just fucking feels bad, man. Like, you cannot. I'm telling you now, as someone who's casted for 10 years, you cannot deliver the same performance in a studio as what you can in an arena. It doesn't matter if the fucking guys in the arena are hearing the Chinese casters and they're literally not hearing what you're saying. It's about the atmosphere. It's about the hype that the crowd brings, knowing when the crowd is roaring and making that noise, and you can take a step back, this kind of thing. All these mechanics of casting that people probably don't really think about as an average viewer, but I'm telling you, it makes a massive, massive difference, especially for a fucking major final.
I mean, there is one, there's one very good comparison, right? In Rio, the casting was, Gales and all the Brazilian guys talking to the crowd, but you had Alex and Chad in the bleachers, wherever, where they were casting from. And sure, they weren't casting the crowd, but the crowd reacting mainly to the game, right? It really adds a lot. And when you're there, and I've had the opportunity to cast in a crowd as well, it's just a whole different feeling, man. Like, it brings out that extra thing out of you as a performer, as a talent. And I feel again, it's a decision made. Perfect world, there's nothing we can do about it, but I hope it's not going to be a trend going down the line, right? I hope it's gonna be like how we've had our other IEMs and other events, from PGL or whoever, where they have the talent on site. I think it's going to be an anomaly, so I'm not going to read too much into it, but it does suck as a fan. I won't lie.
Yeah, so that's pretty much that. Don't really know the reason why necessarily, but that's what it is. That's how it is. Unfortunate as it is, we have to deal with it. And that's it. That's episode 63. Thank you guys.
Damn.
Everybody. Bit of a longer one.
We're gonna get a 69, dude. We need to do a special 69 episode.
You would love to do a special 69 with me, wouldn't you, Bleh?
Oh hell yeah. Maybe you can like have our cameras tilted to make it like 69.
You know what? Okay, I wonder if we can line this up. It might be perfect. I have heard there are some rumors, let's just say, that there's an event which we may all meet at once again at some point next year. And if it lined up for episode 69, it would be the live and exclusive onlyfans.com/geographically challenged episode, which would be exciting. But we might get 69 before that.
And it's like, it should be like a 2-hour long episode where like the first hour and a half is publicly available and the final 30 seconds is us sucking each other off, 69ing each other, eating ass. Is that what we're talking about?
There've been a couple of episodes in hotel rooms already. So I have, laid down on Jordan's hotel bed many a time, and
me too.
I could say it's a good experience. He always leaves me feeling satisfied. So I hope that you as viewers will experience the same thing.
It smells so nice.
And if you'd like to see that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy. That would be very much appreciated. Especially, by the way, let us know who you think is going to make it to the Asia RMR, because it's going to be exciting. These RMR qualifiers, I think, are going to be a pretty spicy, pretty bloodthirsty one. But that's the end of the episode. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, just at the end of this video, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Jean, who is my first supporter on buymeacoffee.com. If you'd also like to support me financially or any of my content, make sure to check out the link. It is in the description box below.